stop. Sherry.
In this time, it's a beautiful day here in Chicagoland, and so we're glad that things are cooperating outside. Let's talk about where we're getting in our conversations for this first hour here in Studio 32. So we're going to talk about water quality alerts. It's a conversation actually we intended to have yesterday, but kind of the point of this show is that when things pop up, we're moving. And so we had hoped to have that conversation yesterday, but the mayor began speaking, and we wanted to go to that sound as he was giving some huge updates on things that were happening in our area. So we moved water quality alerts to today because it's still a very important topic, as it is a beautiful day, and we've got a string of them on the way. People want to get out in the water, the lake, maybe a body of water near you, or the pools. And there are some issues. There's some warnings that are being given. So make sure you stay tuned for that conversation. It's going to happen around 1:45. Also, we know that Marco Rubio is testifying today. This is the first time, I believe, that he has really given some in-depth testimony since the war in Iran began. And so it's a critical time. It's a critical time that we hear from our leaders about what is happening with this conflict, where we are with it. Friday, it really seemed like things may be shifting to some type of deal that was more sustained. And by Monday, that didn't look like it was so. Friday, President Trump said he was going into the Situation Room. So you really think something is about to happen. And we just have not been able to really cross over into a territory that feels as though there is something sustained. Yes, there is a ceasefire. The president has said that it was on life support for quite some time here. And so we're going to hear more about Marco Rubio's testimony. We also know out in California, on the West Coast, it's a big day. In fact, it's a big day for 6 states, I believe, that all have elections. But we're going to focus in on California because not only have the gubernatorial candidates made a lot of news in the last few weeks as they've been getting ready for Election Day today, but the mayoral candidates, specifically for Los Angeles, you have an incumbent mayor who is running for re-election, but there's really almost maybe 3 percentage points that separate the incumbent Karen Bass and then the 2 people after her. That includes a reality star, Spencer Pratt. So a very interesting situation that they have there going on right now, and today is the big day for people to head to the polls. So we're going to pull in our resources from our sister station out in LA to talk a little bit about the gubernatorial and the mayoral race there. We're starting off here with a pretty difficult topic and a very honest conversation about things that go wrong in our city, state, and really throughout the country. We would hope that when children in their own homes aren't treated the way they need to be treated and they end up quote unquote in the system, okay, that next home would be a place that revives them, sends them on a better track, helps them to heal, quite honestly. But this lawsuit says anything but that has happened. And so we're bringing in attorney Margaret Battersby Black, from a managing partner at Levin and Perconti, to talk about this foster child and whistleblower lawsuit, 20 counts. After repeated accusations of sexual assaults by staff members at Aunt Martha's while kids were in DCFS custody. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time on what is a very difficult topic.
Thanks for having me.
Mm-hmm. Can you maybe give us an overview of the allegations here?
Sure. So, really the allegations start unfortunately years before our client Yadira, who has courageously come forward both in a criminal case and in this civil case, even set foot in the house. In the years before she was admitted to Aunt Martha's, there were approximately 3,800 DCFS complaints about unusual incidents. And there were also, I think, over 150 police visits to the facility. So it was already a facility that should have caught the eye of the authorities, that something wasn't going on there, that, these kids may be exposed to unsafe situations. And it's kind of horrifying because these are kids who were taken out of situations in which there was some perceived threats to their safety, and they were supposed to be put into this environment to regain their safety and their security and to try to be able to thrive and live in the community. What happened in Yadira's case is that she was admitted to Aunt Martha's for a short time in 2023. And while she was there, she learned that there were some inappropriate relationships going on between staff members and the youth in care there. Specifically, she raised a concern to one of the counselors that this Trulon Henry, who of course has been criminally convicted of sexually assaulting her and other children there, had an inappropriate relationship with one of the girls there. When she raised this concern, instead of investigating, reporting, as they would be obligated to do under the law because they're mandatory reporters, the facility brought Trulon into a room with our client and had her confront him about what she heard. He, of course, denied it, and that's how they handled the matter. So they knew at that point in time, as early as 2023, that he was engaged in these inappropriate relationships. She then left the facility, was placed at a different facility, and came back in early 2024. And when she was readmitted to the facility, he was still working there. And she knew that she had spoken out before and that had fallen on deaf ears, and was afraid to raise that issue again. So as she acclimated to the facility, he began expressing interest in her. He was providing her with things that she wanted and needed that she wasn't allowed to have in the facility, as a way of grooming her and developing a relationship with her. And then, unfortunately, when she was moved from an area of the facility that was highly visible to the basement, which was less visible and not monitored by cameras, he sexually assaulted her. And this went on for several months. And finally, she bravely came forward when she realized that he was doing this to other girls there, some as young as 12 and 13, and she couldn't let that happen to other girls. She spoke out, and then the police obviously did their investigation. The state's attorney charged him, and he was obviously removed from the facility, but they had years and at least months with Trulon Henry in their facility to have recognized what was going on and fix it. But it, unfortunately, was too late for our client and for many others. And we know that this is just really the tip of the iceberg, unfortunately.
I mean, it's heartbreaking on so many levels. And you would think that, am I seeing DCFS logged about 3,800 unusual incident reports, Chicago police responding to the facility 175 times in the 5 years prior to the closure. That this would have escalated into something from a prosecutorial standpoint much quicker than this, and you wonder how many other people were affected, were changed, were victimized in that time.
Yeah, and like I said, I think this is the tip of the iceberg. We know there are other victims out there because in the criminal trial where Trulon Henry was convicted of multiple counts of sexual assault, there were at least 3 or 4 other victims who came forward and testified. So we know that subset of troubled children there exists. We also know that there were prior employees who worked there who had tried to blow the whistle. The court docket reveals that there's some whistleblower lawsuits where employees who are mandatory reporters about child abuse attempted to come forward. In those instances, what I've learned is those were more physical and verbal assaults, but again, things that shouldn't be happening. And what we're doing now, because we've already filed the lawsuit against Aunt Martha's, Trulon Henry, and the security company that was hired to protect our client 24/7, which they obviously didn't do, we're looking into DCFS now. And you'll hear from us, I think, in the coming weeks about the results of our investigation, and whether DCFS knew that there were problems at this home and that there was a systemic pattern of abuse going on, and they continued to place children like Yadira and others who are already so vulnerable just by nature of the fact that many of them have been victims of abuse. They should be placed in an environment that is going to respect their trauma and be trauma informed, and this was anything but.
Yeah, I guess I would love to know how difficult these types of cases are, because I'm sure that the initial pushback is that maybe a troubled child, a child who, I don't want to paint a child as troubled, a child who has been through traumatic situations, let's say it that way, that maybe they've made it up, or that they exaggerated something, or that they're trying to get someone in trouble instead of possibly taking their word at face value.
Yeah, I mean, and you've actually exposed the reason why these facilities should be taking these complaints more seriously, because victims of prior trauma and abuse are often re-victimized. So predators like Trulon Henry, they know who is more susceptible to be abused, and they groom these individuals knowing that they've had it happen before, knowing that they've probably had trouble coming out before with their stories, knowing that they have these kind of vulnerable children who they need something, right? So these children have been taken from the environments that they previously knew. They're in new environments. They want to have a fresh start. So this is the exact situation that predators prey upon. So I think the other thing is these women, now women, some still girls, have already been through a criminal trial where they've testified and there's physical evidence. It's not a question of did this happen. It's a question now for the civil lawsuit of how did this happen. So Trulon has already been convicted. His crimes are his crimes. But this civil lawsuit seeks to try to determine how a situation like this could have unfolded over months and years, and the facility, Aunt Martha's, the security company, and DCFS didn't do anything about it, didn't stop this from happening when they had so many warning signs.
Yeah, and I don't want to paint DCFS as a whole. I know there are some wonderful social workers who do amazing work for young people in our state, but there are some critical shortages here that you've painted, and so it'll be very interesting to see where this goes from here. Thank you so much for your time and bringing our attention to this. We need to know, as difficult as it is to digest.
Yeah, and thank you for shining a light on this, and thanks obviously to our client who bravely stepped forward and was able to get this put into the criminal justice system as well. But now with our civil case, hopefully we'll learn more and be able to prevent this from happening again.
That is the bigger picture. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. It's 1:14, everyone, and give us 2 minutes. We're going to bring in our sister station, Fox 11, Los Angeles, Mario Ramirez, to talk about a big day for their state and several others. There's a lot of people heading to the polls. 1:16, we're back and we're headed out to the West Coast. There are several states today that have people going to the polls to select new leaders for their cities and for their states, and it's a combination for California. So we have Mario Ramirez from Fox 11 Los Angeles, who's joining us now. 61 gubernatorial candidates. That is just mind-boggling.
Yeah, exactly. And we've been talking about that throughout the morning, Anita. As many as 61 that voters are going to have to be going through before they cast their ballot. And they've been doing their research. We're at a local church here in Silver Lake, and this is a neighborhood in the city of LA. So they are voting right now on several high-profile races. That includes the City Council District 13 seat that's up here, the wide-open contest to replace term-limited Governor Gavin Newsom, and the closely watched LA mayoral race. So we do want to mention that race includes Mayor Karen Bass, City Council Member Nithya Raman, and former reality TV star turned candidate Spencer Pratt, blocked in a virtually dead heat: homelessness, public safety, affordability, and the city's recovery from last year's devastating wildfires. Some of the biggest issues for voters, and those issues also helping drive the race for governor, a field of 61 candidates being narrowed to just 2 who will advance to November's general election. And the latest polls do show that Javier Becerra, Steve Hilton, and Tom Steyer emerging as the leading contenders. So, Anita, so far election officials say about 18% of registered voters have already returned a ballot. And for context, back in the 2022 primary, that ended at about 35%. And we've been seeing a steady flow of people here at this local church. We heard from one poll worker who says during the primary in 2022, during the morning hours, there was a long line out the door, and the most we've seen here throughout the morning is about 12 at a time. So the clock is ticking, and I know it's all about the voter turnout, so we'll see how it shapes up, Anita. For now, in Silver Lake, I'm Mario Ramirez. Back to you.
You know, Mario, knowing that people are steadily coming in is a good thing, and we get it. It's midday. Maybe people were there before work, and maybe they'll come back after work. I see polls close at 8 p.m. you all's time. But I'm wondering, you know, what are some of the issues that in these tight races that you think will actually make a difference? You know, I'm seeing only like a 3 percentage point spread between the top 3 candidates in some spots. So what do you think is going to make the difference?
Yeah, you know, I think the biggest issue that we've heard from voters is the homelessness crisis. You know, under Karen Bass, the incumbent here over the last 4 years, they've slightly brought down homelessness numbers at double digits, but a lot of people that we've heard from say that's just not enough. So they're saying that they're tired of the status quo. They might want to have some change, but that's exactly what we're hearing about the issue of homelessness as well as affordability. They think that rent should be a lot more affordable here. And again, so they're looking at local level and state level leadership. So as people are heading out to the polls today, those are the issues that they have on their minds.
Yeah, and when you talk about state level leadership, I want to kind of key in on 2 things. One, the gubernatorial race that was rocked by scandal from one of the, you know, front runners who's no longer in the race. Do you think people have had time to really coalesce around those who are left?
Well, what's interesting is we heard from quite a few voters today who said they wanted to cast their ballots in person, and part of the reason for that was they wanted to see if any late developments would break in the races that they're closely following, because we've seen that happen before. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people really waiting to the last minute to cast that ballot because they know how quickly things can change, and nowadays how quickly information can emerge as we get down to the wire here, Anita.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of conversation over the last several days, and this kind of makes sense because it's LA, but about the use of AI in the ads. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, you know, that's something that has been slammed by the current incumbent when it comes to the mayoral race. We know the former reality TV star, has been pushing out ads online that she describes as harmful, promoting violence. And it's interesting to see a lot of people have noted that they've got a lot more mail advertisements from certain campaigns and not so much with others. So it kind of gives you a sense about the different approaches. Maybe some are more social media heavy with those videos, and others are the more traditional campaigning here, as we're really getting so close to finding out how this shapes up.
And I would also wonder, I mean, this, we're talking about, even from the gubernatorial standpoint, who's going to replace Gavin Newsom, as everyone kind of looks to see what is next for Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, exactly. Still a lot of questions about where that's headed. We know that his political future is unclear right now, but his 2 terms are up. So here in the state of California, there's the conversation about whether or not we want to kind of stick to what we know, or if there should be a shift in leadership. And that's the question that many of these voters are facing here across the state. So whatever polling location you're at here, this is one of hundreds alone in LA County, they're all voting on who they think should be the top contenders in the governor's race moving ahead.
And when you talk about staying the course versus maybe shifting, this has been interesting to see whether Democrats would keep that seat, or if it could possibly shift at the top of your state back to a Republican, because we have seen people of either party run the state of California.
Yeah, and that'll be really interesting to see exactly how that plays out in the next 24 hours if we do get to see those results finalized by tomorrow. Of course, it could take much longer before they're certified, but I will say that is one of the things that we've constantly heard from voters today is frustration with the status quo. So I have to be careful about what I'm saying here, as voters are actively casting their ballots behind me. But a lot of people have said they're not happy with the way things are going. They want to see something different. So that sort of plays into how they're heading into the polls. The issues that I mentioned, housing, affordability, the rising gas prices across the state, definitely on their minds as they're doing so.
And explain for folks who are watching here, where we have a very different system, how things work in terms of the fact that this isn't like a primary with just Democrats who are running against Democrats and Republicans who are running just against Republicans right now, that that everyone's kind of mixed up in that same pot for California.
Exactly. That's what makes this unique. So let's talk about the gubernatorial candidacy, or the race, I should say. You've got 61 candidates listed on the ballot. So as voters go through that, they've got to choose who they think will be the best to represent the state, regardless of party. So they could choose a Democrat, a Republican. The party does not matter, but the top 2 who receive the most votes will move on to the November election. So this is really narrowing that large field with dozens of names in the race. And it'll be a lot more clear who will be the next leader of the state coming up here as these election results come in.
Very interesting to watch it all. It has been for quite some time, like we said, because of some of the headlines that have come out, both at the state level and then also at the local level for LA. So thank you for making time for us, kind of talking through it with us. I guess the one last thing I will ask you about is the reflection of, say, the fires from last year, as we're seeing more fires in California again start to pop up, and how that has worked on both levels of the state and for LA, and how you're seeing it now play out.
Yeah, and that's been a big topic of conversation. Of course, earlier this year in January, we marked a year since the wildfires, and there's been little recovery as far as building homes goes. So a lot of people are blaming state and Los Angeles officials for the lack of movement here and the permitting process and getting people back into those burned structures. So accountability and where taxpayer dollars are going for these efforts when it comes to recent wildfires is definitely a big concern for so many people. And Spencer Pratt, who is running for mayor here, that's been his entire campaign, or at least a big part of it. He, talks about his own personal struggles dealing with that on the city and the state level.
Mm-hmm. Have people moved back in? I mean, what has been the recovery been like?
Yeah, well, out of thousands of structures that are burned, we can only say maybe a dozen have been rebuilt.
Wow.
So that number, when you think about some of the promises that were made about getting these people back into their normal lives and back into their homes that they've had for decades, generations in some cases, yeah, a lot of people say that's just not enough considering what they were promised.
Whoa. Wow. Thank you so much for giving us an update there and kind of setting the scene for what you all are seeing there in LA. All eyes will be on you all for the rest of the day, and especially tomorrow we'll have some more conversations, I'm sure. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Great talking to you. Thank you.
Take care. It's 1:26, everyone, and we just love to be able to pull on our sister stations for what's happening in their areas. When it becomes a national story, we have the resource right there to be able to talk to the people who are covering it in depth. And for sure, there are some similarities, but then there are some things, even as we were talking about just the system for what voters will see on their ballots that are very different from state to state. So great to have the perspective. And then also some of those issues, the affordability, that's something we're all kind of faced with in all of our different states. But what that looks like for the state of California, and some of the bigger picture things like the fire. I mean, we see it. We see it on the news. We report about it on the news. But what are they actually dealing with here 1 year later? So we really appreciate Mario Ramirez from Fox 11 Los Angeles for giving us an inside view, both to today, Election Day, but also just from a ground perspective, what people have been dealing with over the last 12 months. That's on their minds as they go into the polls to select leaders that will move them into the days ahead. Let's take a 2-minute break, everyone, and then I'll kind of give you some of the things that are trending on our website. All right, welcome back, everyone. Just about 1:30 now. Let's talk about some of the things that are trending on our website. So when you have time today, you can kind of peruse and see what's there and get more information about these stories. We have one that so many people are talking about online. 6 officers, City of Evanston, also named in a federal lawsuit over a police encounter that left a woman in a coma. This is a story that we followed for several months here and are updating today as we've been getting new information. There was already a lawsuit that was dropped, and now a new federal, so upgraded, lawsuit that's been filed here by the family of Felicia Williams. against, again, the city and these officers, alleging excessive force during a January 5th encounter. She's been in a coma since then. Very disturbing video. You can see it online for yourselves and make your own judgment as to what happened there. The lawsuit, though, claims officers failed to respond to signs of medical distress before she suffered a cardiac arrest that led to her coma that she's been in for 5 months. Nearly 5 months. Her family says that they're seeking answers and accountability, while police have said that she resisted arrest and officers used force to restrain her. I mean, we're seeing a similar situation in another state go on right now about how you respond to calls that may include someone who is in medical distress. From a mental health standpoint especially, what type of force, what type of response in general, who shows up to those types of scenes, who should show up, because this complaint claims her constitutional rights were violated, that there was a failure to intervene, battery, and several other allegations here in it. The initial lawsuit that was filed by the family was just about, it was a FOIA request, the Freedom of Information Act request, wanting the video, wanting more information about what happened to their loved one. And they were saying initially that the deadlines for those things weren't being met. Well, now they're getting more information, but of course when you get more information, a bad situation sometimes can seem even worse. And by all accounts, bad situation for everyone involved here, because there are allegations on both sides. But getting to the bottom of it will now go to federal court here. So again, this happened on January 5th, where the Evanston police responded to this area here. There are, again, 6 officers who are now accused of assaulting her while she was on this street. And there were multiple situations going on at the same time, so kind of they were responding to an already kind of chaotic situation. But again, what happened from there is what's going to be adjudicated. It's going to go through the legal system and on a federal level to find out what went wrong and what could have been done differently. So again, we have more information here about that. What each side is saying. You know, this woman, her family says that, and when I said from a mental health standpoint, her family says she has schizophrenia, she's bipolar disorder, that she was experiencing a manic episode. So again, what type of response should meet that type of mental health crisis that may be going on at the moment is kind of at the heart of this. And again, she is still in a coma right now. So the video is there. We have each side of this kind of laid out for you here, and also what comes next. We have all of that information for you online at fox32chicago.com, and a lot of people are already clicking on it again because it's a story that we've been following for a while. We also have this is another one of the very difficult stories to tell, but we need to know about a man accused of following boys into a Chicago bathroom. The information is here online. Police are looking to identify him, so this is one of those situations. Yes, hard to hear, important to know, and we do need you to take a good look at the picture so that we can get a person who's accused of these types of things off of the streets. This happened on the northwest side apparently last week, but we're just now finding out more information about it. It was in the 3900 block of North Cicero Avenue in Portage Park where we got this complaint, and we have a picture of the man accused on our website. So please, we wouldn't want this happening to anyone else. Please take a good look at the picture. Go online, take a good look at the picture when you have time, and if you notice anything, let police know. I'll point your attention to one other thing before we're going to move on to something that's happening on the East Coast in just a moment, but this is about 5 people abandoned now after a big fire in Harvey. 5 abandoned homes that caught fire that have left a lot of people kind of wondering what went wrong there. This was at 3 a.m. in Harvey this morning. No injuries immediately reported, thank goodness, but a nearby power outage remains. So a lot of people who are affected by what happened here. City leaders are calling for changes to address abandoned properties in the area. Not only can that be a situation of blight in your community, but it can also lead to some dangerous situations like they saw this morning in Harvey. So we have what we know, kind of the basic facts about this. Electricity still out near 155th and Broadway at this time, and ComEd has been notified about that. We have what we're still looking to try to find out more information about, and what people in the neighborhood are saying about all of this, as well as city officials. So you can find that information in the video. My goodness, I mean, to wake up in the middle of the night, 3 a.m., so middle of the night, and see this kind of scene in your neighborhood would shock most people. So glad that we're not hearing about any injuries at this point, but a lot of damage in Harvey, and a lot of questions that still need some answers here. So we have that information on our website as well. It is 1:37 right now, and as I'm speaking to you, and you can find all of this information on fox32chicago.com, we have Marco Rubio. Secretary Marco Rubio, who is testifying today in front of the House Appropriations Subcommittee hearing, and let's listen into a bit of this.
I think I'm going to skip the long opening. You have it in writing. I'll just do a couple brief points. Rather spend the time on your questions. It'll probably be a better use of our time. Just suffice it to say what I told you a year ago, and getting back to that point now. A couple things. In terms of U.S. foreign policy.
Stop supporting Israel! Stop supporting Israel! Israel committed a genocide in Palestine that's still ongoing, and now they're committing another genocide in Lebanon. And what are you doing? You're serving Israel! Stop serving Israel!
All right. The core of our, is that to continue now? All right.
Mr.
So
Secretary.
the core of our foreign policy must always be the national interest of the United States. That is basically defining what that national interest is, and then operationalizing it in such a way that our foreign policy reflects it. This is across the board in the work of diplomacy and the place in which and that requires prioritization, by the way. It requires us to prioritize some parts of the world over other parts of the world, some issues over other issues. That's just the reality of limited resources, and every country in the world has limited resources, including the United States, despite our vast resources. The second is in terms of how we procure aid and how we provide aid. We are still the world's largest aid provider, and I mean by far. Like, there isn't a close second. But we don't want aid to solely be judged by how much you spend. We want it to be judged by what its results are. And I think we can talk about it today, but there are a couple points that I would raise that I think are very promising. The first is we've now entered in the global health strategy over 32 health compacts with countries around the world. And these health compacts basically are, the countries that are signing them love it. Not just because they're getting the resources, but because we're investing in their domestic resources. In essence, we are trying to lay the groundwork in many of these countries where one day they will no longer need foreign aid because they will be able to sustain it. We're helping build the internal infrastructure other than, as opposed to relying on extensive NGOs and things of this nature in the long term. We want them to build their own domestic capacity. We'll help them, and they're very happy because it also gives them sovereignty over the way some of their aid is being dispersed in those countries. Likewise with humanitarian assistance. One of the great success stories of the last year is we are able, in a time of disaster, to respond faster than we were responding under previous administrations and organizations, and with much more effectively. Jamaica is a great example. They had a hurricane in the Caribbean. Jamaica was heavily impacted. We were able to respond very quickly and very effectively. The same has been the case in a couple of typhoons, and we're doing it now with Ebola, where we were able to program upwards of over $200 million very quickly in responding to it, down to the point of being able to, even through diplomatic means, establish a facility in Kenya for any Americans that are infected as an observation post for Americans. If someone's infected with Ebola, they will be transferred to a facility that could care for them. If they're not infected after the observation period, they'll be able to return to the United States or wherever it is they're traveling to. But we've also provided assistance to the individual or partners that we have at the UN and in other places in providing aid immediately. So I would say that today, foreign aid has become more nimble, more responsive. It's operating faster because of some of the flexibility that you've given us to respond, but also more creative. And that's particularly true in the global health strategy. We can talk more in depth later on about some of the arrangements that we've made with international organizations. As an example, the Global Fund and our ability to meet our commitments to them. We've worked very closely with them. They're very, very happy with the way we've outlined our contributions to the Global Fund. I think there's a statement today from the UN and OCHA on the work that we've done with them and the ability to provide them the funds and resources necessary to carry out their mission. So I would just say that I feel like, while it is still ongoing and there's always a process, I feel like we have made dramatic improvements in the way American foreign assistance is delivered across the world, but we're able to do it now, not just in a targeted way, but in a more effective way, in which it's not simply being judged by how much money you're spending. It's being judged by what results are you getting from it. And there'll be more to talk about in the field of PEPFAR and otherwise if you want to ask about those. I'll find a way to work it in. But I don't want to take any more time. I want to get to your questions. So thanks for having me.
Well, thank you, Mr. Secretary. And for the members, I'll call on members based on seniority of those present when the hearing was called to order, and as always, going alternating between each side. Each member will have 5 minutes for questions and responses. I anticipate that we'll have enough time for 2 rounds. So let me begin, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Secretary, if a country is a U.S. designated state sponsor of terrorism and ordered its Air Force to shoot down unarmed U.S. civilian aircraft in international waters and kidnapped and held hostage a U.S. humanitarian aid worker and harbored terrorists and fugitives from U.S. justice and closely is allies with another state sponsor of terrorism, which is Iran, and provided intelligence and security support to the narco-trafficking, anti-American Maduro regime in Venezuela, and was found smuggling hundreds of tons of weapons material to North Korea, and repeatedly welcomes Russian spy and warships, and encourages thousands of their nationals to deploy to Russia to fight on Russia's side in Ukraine, and is currently giving China access to spy facilities with signal intelligence capabilities, and furthermore orchestrates an extensive espionage network against the United States, and has over 300 military drones within reach of U.S. territory, including U.S. military installations and nuclear facilities. Would you consider a country like that as a threat to the national security interests of the United States?
Yeah, and I think you're describing Cuba, and that's absolutely the case. But I think one more point I would make is all of these violent Marxist, left-wing, radical terrorist groups that operate in many countries have destabilized Colombia, for example, for years, and others all found their seed money from Cuba as well. They sponsored these groups all around the region, and part of the region is still paying the price for the rise of those groups, particularly the FARC elements that have now spun off and are actually carrying out violence as we speak in Colombia.
Yeah, and I hear that from heads of state throughout Latin America, the impact that continues to have, the threat to their security, to democracies, and to our national security. Let me shift again also to the Western Hemisphere on Venezuela. We know what happened. This fugitive of U.S. law is now in here in U.S. custody, and that we thank the Secretary, you and the Secretary of War, and in particular the President for his leadership on that. You have laid out what I believe is a clear 3-phase plan for Venezuela: stability first, and then recovery, and then transition. Where are we in that process, and are we still on track?
Yeah, first I think it's important to remind, I think tomorrow will mark the 5-month. I know it feels like it was 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 7 years ago, 5 months ago. That's how long we've been into this process. So let me say, Venezuela is not today where we hope it will be for the peoples of Venezuela's sake, but it is on a trajectory that I think is a very positive one if it continues, and it has to continue. As you said, our first priority was stabilization. We did not want to see mass migration. We did not want to see a civil war. We did not want to see societal breakdown, and that required working to the extent possible and wise with existing institutions, not to preserve them or to perpetuate them, but to ensure that we didn't have systemic breakdown. The second is recovery, which is the phase I would argue we are primarily in right now, and that is the ability to recover their economic vibrancy, to allow small businesses to develop and the like. And part of that is ensuring that the wealth of that country, which is primarily through mineral resources and energy resources, are going to help the people of Venezuela directly. And that's what you see through the Treasury blocked account, is that the money that they're generating from these oil sales is being driven to pay for things like salaries and to buy medical equipment and things that are beneficial to the people, not being pilfered and used as side hustles to help, cronies. Obviously, more work remains to be done. Ultimately, and other things that need to happen, ultimately, the answer in Venezuela is a free and fair democratic election, because it's not just the right thing, it also is necessary in order for them to be able to attract the kind of investment that they want. In order for it to be a long-term and investable place that can attract the kind of capital and interest and normalize the way their economy works, they will need to have a government that is legitimately in place through elections. But you have to create the conditions for that. Those conditions include free and open media. We've seen independent journalism operating again in Venezuela. That's been a positive. You need to give space and time for political parties to organize and prepare them, position themselves to participate in those elections. You need a new electoral council because they're the ones that are going to be counting the votes and ensuring that the vote is legitimate. All that work is ongoing.
Again, we've been listening in here as Secretary of State Marco Rubio is testifying before the House Committee on Appropriations here, a subcommittee, and this is led today by Vice Chair Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart from Florida, Republican Congressman from Florida, as they've been talking about Venezuela and elections there, Cuba, and Secretary Rubio took quite a bit of time to talk about the U.S. being the world's largest aid provider. He gave examples of providing aid for Jamaica after the hurricane, or Africa in this current state where we're seeing so many people, hundreds of people die from Ebola. He says that the aid response is more nimble, responsive, creative these days, and that they've made dramatic improvements to be more effective. In the midst of him talking about giving aid to other countries, there was a heckler, a kind of startling moment for everyone there in the chambers there as they talked about screaming to stop supporting Israel that they believe is committing genocide, not only there, but in the confrontations that are happening now between Israel and Lebanon. So that hearing is going to go on for quite some time. We may dip back into it, but we want to go ahead and get to our next guest, who is already here on the line, as we talk about things that are happening here in our area in terms of environmental issues and more specifically water quality issues. So we have Emily Kowalski, who is the Associate Director for Environment Illinois. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Mm-hmm. This is the time of year when we get that first taste of summer, where we have prolonged stretch of 80 degrees and everyone wants to be outside. We've been cooped up for quite some time, and being outside for a lot of people means hopping in the water. We've got some warnings, some advisories that went out pretty quickly as that time frame came about. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone who lives in Chicago or, visits Chicago knows just how wonderful the beach in the summertime can be. After a long winter, we all love to head to the lake and take a quick dip. But even, not every summer day is unfortunately healthy for us to be out swimming in the lake. And less than 1 week into this, already had a swim advisory because of water quality issues. Margaret T. Burroughs Beach, or as many of us call it, 31st Street Beach, had a swim advisory last Thursday, May 28th. As I said, less than a week into the beach being open. And this swim advisory was due to high bacteria indicator levels from rapid testing for folks to be swimming today.
Okay, I think we're having some connection issues there, maybe some Wi-Fi issues with Emily. Maybe we can get her to log off and log back in. Maybe it'll be a little bit better. I'm not sure. Hopefully we can have this conversation with her. I think it is something that so many people need to know about. Environmental advocates, you could hear a piece of what she was saying about them urging swimmers at 31st Street Beach to be cautious. This was on Thursday when this swim advisory went out to so many people who would just, again, you finally get some nice weather outside. You want to venture out to the beach, as in our area. But these warnings here from the Chicago Park District on their website asking visitors to exercise caution as the water near the beach failed, in their words, failed to meet federal water quality standards. And so we wanted to talk a little bit more about what are those standards. Are the standards high enough? Are the standards changing? That particular caution that went out for Thursday was lifted on Friday, but how often do we see these? And why is it that you get it for 31st Street Beach, but maybe you didn't get it for like all of the beaches? So you kind of wonder what's going on. I think Emily is back with us. Hopefully we have a better connection. Emily, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me a little better?
I can, yes, wonderful. And so, we were hearing pieces of what you were saying here, but I mentioned the fact that, the warning from the Chicago Park District said that the beach failed to meet federal water quality standards. What are the standards?
A beach action value are set at a limit that should warrant caution. So if you are headed to a beach managed by the Chicago Park District, the Park District actually does rapid testing daily and posts the results of that rapid testing around 1:30 p.m. each day. So you can check in advance the results of that water quality testing, and any number that is higher than 1,000 will trigger a swim advisory for that beach for the day and should warrant caution, because this testing is looking at indicator bacteria, the potential for bacteria in the water, which can lead to illness like rashes, as well as gastrointestinal illness, ear and eye infection. And you don't want to put yourself or your friends and family, when you're headed to the beach, at risk of illness when you're trying to enjoy a day at the beach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so I know that there is a push to have some maybe tighter regulations here. This Clean Water State Revolving Fund. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, the State Water Clean and the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, is the main federal program that funds a lot of the actually clean water infrastructure that we need. The biggest problem that our water is facing when it comes to triggering these sorts of swim advisories or even beach closures is needing to update outdated infrastructure and needing to deal with the water that is running off of our built environment from storms or from industry. And that is a big place where the bacteria and pollution can enter our waterways and cause these swim advisories and the even beach closures if there is a real concern. We need to be investing in our clean water infrastructure to ensure that our waterways are safe for swimming and we can enjoy a beautiful day at the beach. investing in the federal Clean Water State Revolving Fund allows not only Illinois, but across the nation, our local municipalities and our states to be able to invest in having the infrastructure that we need to make sure our waters are safe for swimming.
And seeing one of these advisories come up so early in the season, does it kind of portend that we're probably going to see a lot of these, or does one thing have no association with what we could see for the rest of the summer?
One advisory this early in the summer doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to see more advisories this summer, but it is not a good sign. Our most recent Safe for Swimming report looked at beach rapid testing data and other testing data for Great Lakes and coastal beaches actually across the country. Here in Illinois, 100% of Lake Michigan beaches in Illinois had at least one day where the testing results were concerning and above levels that make it potentially unsafe for swimming. So, unfortunately, based on that research and this early warning sign, we should all use caution and make sure that we are armed with the information that we need to keep ourselves healthy when we go enjoy the lake. And this should be a call to action that it's time to invest in our.
Emily, great speaking with you. I know we had some issues with the Wi-Fi, but I think we got the bigger picture of what you were saying there. Thank you so much for your time today and what you do throughout the year.
Thank you so much for having me.
Certainly, we appreciate it. And everyone, again, as she was saying towards the beginning of our conversation, that rapid testing results. If you have any concerns and maybe you heard about an advisory or you want to know if there's an advisory before you get the kids ready and go out to the beach, the results for the beaches managed by the Park District are available daily at around 1:30 p.m. They put those on the agency's website. All of the ones that fall under the Park District, you can find them after they do the testing. They post that, and the information should be there right around 1:30. So for today, it would be already posted. So let's continue to just be aware of what's going on out there and mindful of what we can all do to make the water quality a little better along the way. Let's take a 2-minute break, and then I'll set you up for where we're going in the 2 o'clock hour here on Chicago Live. Okay, welcome back, everyone. We're in our 2 o'clock hour now here on Chicago Live. Certainly appreciate everybody who's been with us since the start of the 1 o'clock hour. We've got lots to get into in this hour ahead. We're going to call in another one of those conversations we intended to have yesterday that we moved over here today because we had just had so much going on yesterday. But the owners of one of our local Harold's chickens that's getting a lot of buzz throughout the country, and so much buzz, and we know, Harold's is great, but so much buzz that they have had like some major celebrities who have been stopping into Chicago just to give it a try here. And so we'll talk to them right around 2:40 about what the secret sauce is that has so many people needing to make a trip to go see them specifically. We'll also talk about a major opportunity for Wheeling. We love to not just talk about what's happening here in the city of Chicago, but what's going on in our suburbs. And we know that Wheeling is getting ready to get a water park. They have a major grant that they just received. It's going to help them out in terms of bringing a lot of people to their area in the near future. We'll get into that with them around 2:30. We're also continuing the conversations about those beagles at Ridgeland Farms. And we've been on this since I think the early part of March, when we started to hear rumblings of complaints, and we've been on this since March. The ongoing complaints have been for quite some time now, but it really went to a fever pitch in March, where protesters were trying to break in this facility, Ridgeland Farms there in Wisconsin, and get in and rescue the dogs that were in there. The facility is still running, but they have given up their breeding license. 1,500 dogs, 1,500 beagles specifically, that were being used for lab tests and things of that nature have been now taken out of there over time and have gone to many different rescues throughout the country. We've talked to several of the rescues here in our area as they've been getting 25 to Paws Chicago, or 50 to another rescue group, and 15 to one rescue group that was up on the North Shore, and they've been doing wonderful work. So we're getting an update on where things stand now and what the advocates, these animal rights advocates, are still working to do moving forward. Big job that they have, sometimes controversial, and yet they've been very effective in moving the needle on this particular subject and raising awareness for what's going on. And so we'll talk to them in just a bit. We're also hoping that we'll be able to get our own Tia Ewing on to talk about the story that she's working on today, a huge water bill that someone is facing in Dalton. And if she's on the story, she's going to try to get some results for the folks out there. And so we'll get to her just as soon as she logs in here. I believe she is here now. Tia, tell us a little bit about the story.
So I first got this information last night that there was a lady living in Dalton who had water bills that typically go from, for example, her water bill is quarterly. It typically goes from $200 and fluctuates to about a little over $300. She got a letter yesterday that was dated May 22nd that actually said that she owed almost $4,300 for her water bill. We went to the village of Dalton to try to get some answers on how could that possibly be. There are some portions of the bill, her bill, and I'll show you this by hiding her information, but there are, and I printed this out big so you can see it. There are portions of the bill that literally has, for example, you'll see there a 0 or a 0E further down. That represents zero consumption of water.
Whoa. And
an estimated bill. So how would you be able to bill someone for what is estimated? Well, apparently this is known. This is a common practice when the water company or any energy company, gas, for example, cannot access your meter. But here's the problem. And Dalton did call us and kind of give us a little bit of synopsis of what they think is going on. They're going to review this yet again before they issue an official statement. But they were saying that 0 represents the fact that they have not been able to gain access to the water meter. And the E represents an estimated bill. But here's the problem. They're saying, at least right now, until we get an official statement from them, in their generic narrative of this, that it is very possible that her bill has been estimated. She's lived there for 6 years, that her bill has been estimated for 6 years. And in fact, that culmination of $4,300 would be how much her true bill, all those bills combined that were estimated. This is an indication of her true water consumption all lumped together.
Wait, but was she paying along the way?
Say that one more time.
Was she paying along the way?
Paying along the way, every single bill. There's no past due amounts here. There was a past due balance at one point. This was for the bill that ended December 31st of 2025 for $51. But there is no indication here. And I want to go back to this because I know it's hard to see. But if this is your bill, now mind you, this is a very large printed version of the bill. But if this is your bill here and you see that, you see the O and the E, look how small that is. This is jumbo for, me showing you today to be able to show you what it looks like. But in reality, these bills are printed very small. And the average person, if you've never owned a home before, if you've never had to pay a water bill before, that 0 on E may mean absolutely nothing to you. That E may not mean a thing to you. There's nothing on the bill that outlines the true definition of that E to B that this bill is estimated.
And quite honestly, if you're getting a $51 bill, you're probably not looking through all of that either. You're just paying the $51 bill. It's not until you get a $4,000 bill that you're like, wait a minute, let me go look real closely at this.
So I went to a couple of neighbors' houses to see if they too were having this experience. They have not, but there is a list of people that have sounded off in the village of Dalton online that are saying they're all having, this similar problem. My question would be, we're going to wait to get this official statement, but if it does turn out that this is a bill that has, culminated over a period of 6 years, why would you wait 6 years? Why would you wait till the economy is this crazy where gas is through the roof? The grocery prices are through the roof to then hit somebody with the $4,300 bill. This is not a community that is, overflowing with wealth. The average person, no matter what zip code you're in, does not necessarily have $4,300 sitting around for one bill. And the cutoff notice for this bill, she got the bill yesterday. The bill is dated, I'm looking at these things, it's dated for May 22nd. And the cutoff notice says if it's not paid by May 29th, her water will be shut off. Today's date is June 2nd.
Right.
So hopefully we can get some answers here, because right now, even the very surface level answers that we have, it does not add up, period. That does not add up to me. If somebody gave me that answer as a person that pays a water bill, I would be livid. That makes absolutely no feasible sense to me. So hopefully before 4 o'clock, when this story first airs, we have some idea of exactly what's going on here. Because I'm gonna be honest right now, it's not adding up. I've been doing this a while now. This is not adding up to dollars nor cents, literal cents.
Yeah, you would think too, if there were issues accessing her water meter, which happens, it can happen, especially if she was new to that property. Maybe something happened in the switch from one property owner to the next that then made accessing the water meter more difficult. But you would think that she would have been notified about that within like the first few months of her moving in, and that there would be some type of record of them reaching out to her before you get a $4,000 plus bill.
You think? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This makes no sense. And even if, let's just say for a year, you couldn't gain access. You sent all of these bills, you sent bills. You couldn't send something in the mail that says, hey, we're trying to gain access.
Right.
We're having a hard time here. You're still getting money. So you know that the bills are being received. So you know that the mail is going through. That's evident. Why not send something in the mail that says, hey, FYI, you're getting an estimated bill here. We're trying to gain access. We haven't been able to.
Yeah.
Right now, I literally, this one is a head scratcher.
Okay.
And I have some other people that have stepped up too that want to talk as well, that are having a similar issue. And if it's more than a few people here, this does not make something's going on.
Yeah.
So hopefully their statement is concise and makes a little bit more sense than what we have right now, because this doesn't.
And just take us back to like her initial reaction opening up the bill, as she told you. Like, what was her initial reaction when she saw it, and what she's gone through over the last couple of weeks?
It was her birthday. So here's the gag. The gag is she got it yesterday. It's dated for May 22nd. But she got it yesterday on her birthday. That is when the bill actually, and that's another big question here is, if it's dated for May 22nd, why did I get it on June 1st?
May 22nd, and the cutoff was already before you even received it. Yeah.
Correct. So her initial statement is she's not working right now, and she is in absolute shock because she can afford $200 to $300, maybe even $400. She can't afford $4,300. So the village did say there are things in place to help people. But you would really, for me to even go there with you, if I'm the person paying the bill, you got to explain to me how I accrued this bill in the first place.
Yeah.
Keep your help until you explain to me how I've accrued a bill of $4,300, and you're trying to tell me over 6 years. So I want to reserve, my judgment here until I actually get the official statement from them, because perhaps this is a clerical error. This is what I was thinking initially they'd say, is that actually this was a mistake. The bill's supposed to be $429, and there's some typos there, and this is a whole mistake. That's not what we've heard. So, and then if you think about it too, the last bill, and keep in mind this is a quarterly bill. So January, February, March, April, May, June. She should be getting June's bill. This bill doesn't even say anything about June, right? Like the bill would have ended at the end of May.
Right.
So that's not even, that part isn't even making sense. So actually, no. The bill would be ending, this bill ended January, February, March 31st. So March, April, May, June, right? So the bill that she should be receiving shouldn't be coming until the end of June. So even that is off. Is now you're asking for this lump sum. May 29th is when the cutoff would be before you turn it off. Even that part doesn't make sense.
Okay. Well, we know you're going to keep putting in phone
You're
calls.
a little
It's a head scratcher for sure. And especially if it's not just her, that's a much bigger issue.
Right.
And we often have these situations where, especially in an area, again, where people may not be making that much money, where if she was kind of paying a little bit at a time, that there would be some type of acknowledgement of we have a problem, we're working to fix it, especially again if she's not the only one, and you could see that this is a person. It's not like she was hiding from you all. It's not like she wasn't paying her bill all of these years. So yeah, it's a head scratcher for sure, but we know you'll get to the bottom of it.
We'll get to the bottom of it though. We always do.
You always do. All right, thank you, Tia. We'll see you at 4.
No problem. Thank you.
2:15, everyone. Give us 2 minutes, and then we're going to get into our discussion about the Ridgeland Beagles. Gonna get an update on where things stand and the fight that still is ahead. right, welcome back, everyone. 2:20 right now as we take a look at a couple of the things that are trending on our website. We're waiting on our conversation about the Ridgeland Beagles. As soon as they're here, we'll try to work them back into the show, and we've got a couple of other things going on. But let's go over maybe one or two of the stories that are populating on our website right now. We were just speaking with Tia Ewan a moment ago. Her story from yesterday is one of the ones that's trending. Obviously, we're in graduation season. We love to see it. We love to celebrate the young people and older adults too, who are coming to new levels in life and getting new degrees, new opportunities, opening up new opportunities in their lives. But with graduation season and all of the celebration, typically there are some things that will not go as planned either. So we have the story from Tia yesterday about a Chicago graduate who says her diploma was withheld after a viral graduation dance. We've got the video from the graduation. You can see it for yourself here. Her name is Tyvion Campbell, and she says that her diploma was held from after doing a split on the graduation stage here. She says there was no written rule banning celebratory moves. Some schools, high schools, colleges do have very explicit rules about celebrations at graduations, whether it be the parents and how loud they can be, what types of sounds they can have. Sometimes you can't bring in those little whistle makers or things like that. Sometimes you can't write things on your cap. Some schools are very strict on those things, but she says there was no written rule banning celebratory moves on stage, and she was later told to make amends before she could receive her diploma, that if she would come to them and say, hey, I have, I'm sorry, some contrition, that she would get her diploma. So it's been hotly debated online. Again, we have the full story here for you. She plans to attend Georgia State University this fall, so she's done the work. She's going on to the next phase in life, but there is this issue of whether her getting something physical in her hands. And so the full story is there on our website, again, that Tia did yesterday. What happened, the video from what happened, and what comes next, that is all there. And you can see that for yourself. It's trending online. A lot of people are seeing it, have a lot of strong opinions on it. So that's one of the stories that's trending on our website. There are plenty of others. Again, fox32chicago.com is where you can see all of those stories. But our guest from Ridgeland Farms, that story is here now. Wayne Pacell is the president for the Center for a Humane Economy and Animal Wellness Action. We so appreciate you coming back on the show. Thank you for your time.
Oh, listen, I'm delighted to be with you. Really great to see you.
Wayne, tell us where you are right now. The last time we spoke to you, you were on Capitol Hill advocating for animal rights as it pertains to this situation from Ridgeland Farms and others. Where are you now, and where do things stand?
Yeah, I'm back here in Washington, D.C. now. I was visiting with lawmakers today, but we just had a press conference, a virtual press conference, to announce that we were able to secure with our partner Big Dog Ranch Rescue 135 more beagles from Ridgeland Farms, which is the Blue Mounds, Wisconsin. This is in Dane County, not far from Madison, the state capital, in south central, southwestern Wisconsin. Ridgeland Farms is a laboratory supplier of beagles. So they raise beagles and sell them to laboratories for painful and invasive testing, for drug development, toxicology studies, other sorts of experiments. So we're really pleased to make that announcement. That brings us to 1,635 animals that we've been able to secure the possession of in the wake of long months of negotiations on this issue. But as you know, I've really been focused a lot on Washington, D.C. because we cannot rescue our way out of this problem. Ridgeland Farms has, by best estimates, about 2,000 beagles. We now have, as I said, more than 1,600 of them. But there's a separate facility in upstate New York called Marshall Bioresources that has 20,000 beagles. So we cannot negotiate our way out of this problem. We have to have national policy solutions. So we're working with Republicans and Democrats in Congress to stop the federal government, specifically the National Institutes of Health, the largest funder of research and testing in the world, asking them or demanding through congressional language that they no longer provide grants to research protocols that involve the use of dogs and cats. Ultimately, I would like to extend that to primates. We use 107,000 primates in tests every year. It's 42,000 dogs, and then hundreds of thousands of other animals. But starting with the dogs, the problem dramatized by our work with Ridgeland Farms and to get these incredible, submissive, docile beagles who are used because of those behavioral characteristics in animal testing, to get them out of that facility, out of the pipeline to laboratories and into loving homes, including to Chicagoland shelters like PAWS, where then so many Americans have stepped up and want to provide safe places for the rest of the lives of these beagles.
And when we say secure, are you all having to pay for these beagles to get them out of there?
Yes, we did, and it's quite unusual. So at the Center for Humane Economy, we work to get corporations to do better when it comes to animal welfare. So we work with fashion companies to get them to stop, buying and producing and selling fur. We work with big supermarkets to get them to go cage-free for their egg sales or for the pork sales, or we worked with all the big athletic shoe companies to get them to stop sourcing kangaroo skins for their athletic shoes. So in this space of animal testing, we try to work with pharmaceutical corporations and these suppliers like Ridgeland Farms to get out of that business and to use alternative strategies for the scientific work and the testing work that needs to be done. We want that grounded on human biology, not animal biology. But we never thought we would give money to acquire animals. But the reason we did so in this case is that Ridgeland there were concerns about the treatment of the animals. And there was a state prosecutor who was assigned to this case. And in return for him not bringing animal mistreatment charges against the company agreed to stop selling dogs to animal testing labs by July 1st. So I was concerned that the company, if we didn't step in, might have a fire sale on the dogs and might sell the dogs inexpensively to other animal testing labs. So we have diverted now 1,635 dogs from that fate, and we paid money. Our supporters have enabled this acquisition of the dogs, but it's not a normal practice for us. We did it only because this business was ending on July 1st.
Very interesting. So 1,635 beagles, which would put them at still having, 300 and some odd there?
Well, we really don't know. So it's 1,635. So we had 1,500 before and 135 were announced today. It appears that Ridgeland did sell in May some number of dogs, perhaps as many as 200, to an animal testing facility. We don't have all the details on that at the moment. So while we were doing this, there was that additional commercial pathway, but we hope that this is the end of it. And now our focus is never having to go through this again and getting national policy to address this problem of supplying animals to testing facilities. We can use other methods. They're superior. They're based on human biology. The incredible innovations in artificial intelligence, incredible innovations in laboratory settings with what are called microphysiological systems, where we can create on a chip the functionality of a human liver or a human kidney. So we have incredible, accurate human-based testing methods that don't involve any harming of people that obviate the need for using animals in tests.
And interesting to point out that Ridgeland, this has not put them out of business. They are still enacting business.
This part of their business, which we believe is the bulk of their business, ends on July 1st. So within less than a month, all of this goes away. And again, we stepped in because we didn't want those dogs in a fire sale to a bunch of different academic institutions, to pharmaceutical companies, where they would give them away at a bargain price. So we acquired the dogs, we purchased them, and we have also borne the organizations in particular that we partner with have borne the expense of the medical treatment, the housing, the transportation. But that's what we do. That's our work in animal welfare, is to give loving homes to these animals, but also to look at macro level solutions and to look at national animal testing policy. In 2022, we at the Center for Humane Economy and our sister organization, Animal Wellness Action, passed the FDA Modernization Act that eliminated an 84-year-old animal testing mandate for all drug development protocols. So most of the animal testing concerns screening of drugs and the testing of animals before these drugs go to human clinical trials. So we eliminated the animal testing requirement, which was a revolution in our nation when it comes to animal testing. And now we're kind of dealing with the implementation of that question and that law.
You mentioned Paws Chicago that stepped in, and I think they got 25 of the beagles from the original group. We spoke with Chicago Rescue Authority that got several beagles, and then even Border Tails Rescue as well. So many of these different groups that have been stepping up, trying to find foster homes, and hopefully foster fails, homes that will go on to give these beagles a new chance on life and a more beautiful life moving forward. Tell me about that work in contacting the various rescues throughout the country and here in Illinois even to help you all with what you're doing.
We have an incredible network of shelters and foster animal organizations in the United States. There are probably 3,000 brick and mortar shelters. Many of them are private, like Paws, nonprofit charitable organizations. Some are public agencies, like a county animal care entity. But on top of that, there are more than 10,000 animal rescue organizations for dogs and cats. So it's an incredible network. So we asked that network to absorb 1,635 dogs. Not a problem at all. People are coming out of the woodwork. And then private citizens just want to be involved in this and want to help one of these animals and make them a member of the family. So we could actually empty out the biggest supplier of beagles. It's Marshall Bioresources in Wayne County in upstate New York. It has 20,000 beagles. We could take all of those dogs without any problem. And we invite Marshall Bioresources to give them to us. Get out of this business of supplying animals to contract labs, academic institutions, pharmaceutical companies for painful, invasive experiments. We don't need it any longer. It doesn't work well. We have superior human relevant, human biology based methods of testing that can advance our human health imperatives, which are so important to fight cancer and Alzheimer's and kidney disease and every human malady or illness you can think of. There are better ways to do it than to victimize these beagles, to victimize primates, to victimize rabbits. This is an archaic practice. We've been on muscle memory for decades with this. What other sector of the economy, when it deals with the technology, has stayed in place since the 1930s, as we have with animal testing? You look at telecommunications, we don't use crank phones, we don't use rotary phones, we use iPhones or Androids. You look at American aviation and incredible changes there. We don't do what we did in the 1930s. We don't do this in any area of engineering or science. We progress. We have all of the tools that we can need. We will build more of these tools. We don't need to involve these helpless animals in this process. They are not our equals in intelligence, but they are our equals in their capacity to suffer. And it's precisely because of our intelligence, our human ingenuity, and human creativity that we can figure out a way to achieve all the best outcomes in science and medicine, but also uphold our values about opposition to animal mistreatment and animal cruelty. We can have it all without having animal cruelty.
Wayne, before I let you go, quickly, because this has grown to a national story, watching what's happening at Ridgeland Farms, I am interested in whether the facility that's in New York, whether they're kind of seeing that and whether they've indicated at all that they're even open to changing their practice.
Yeah. If they don't hear the footsteps, their eyes are closed and their ears are shut. Because once Ridgeland shuts down, I do believe that will be the fate of that company soon, then Marshall Bioresources will be the last big player in the beagle breeding space. There are others that have primates or other animals. They also deserve our attention and our focus. This is why we're focused on national public policy, that federal action from the Congress and the action from federal health agencies like the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the National Institutes of Health, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. All of these institutions need to act, and they all need to act in one direction, which is take the animals out of the equation. Let's have superior human-based biology work done to have good healthcare, palliatives, and cures for the things that afflict us, but not to make victims of millions of animals a year. That must stop.
Wayne, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming back on the show, and please do keep us updated, okay?
We appreciate Channel 32 very much. Thank you so much for what you do.
Take care.
Thank you.
2:37, everyone. Give us 2 minutes, and then we're going to talk about what's going on in Wheeling. Some great things that are happening as we get into these warmer days. Welcome back. It's about 2:40 right now, and the Wheeling Park District has a $30 million plan to build a new aquatic center, and it just cleared some big hurdles to kind of get to the next level for them. So we're bringing in Matt Webby, the executive director for the Wheeling Park District now. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Tell us how hard it was to clear this hurdle.
Well, it's not easy. I would say a lot of hard work went into it, but I would say the Village of Wheeling and our partners with the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District really helped us get it through. And like I said, we had a lot of hard work to date, but there is a lot more still to come.
Mm-hmm. All right, give us the vision. What will this ultimately look like in Wheeling?
Okay, so for 33 years, the Wheeling Park District has had one of the premier aquatic centers in the state of Illinois. We've seen 2.5 million guests go through that facility. And we were one of the very first public aquatic centers in the state. Prior to that, people built community pools. This aquatic center served this community, Northwest Indiana, Northern Illinois, and Southern Wisconsin. We have guests coming from all over the area. And after 33 years and 2.5 million people, things start to deteriorate. And while the facility looked great, it was starting to show its age in the places that people couldn't see, the infrastructure and all that. So what we were doing is we were replacing a state-of-the-art aquatic center with another state-of-the-art aquatic center. It'll feature drop slides, it'll feature water slides, a wet deck for kids. We will have open water swimming, and new for this aquatic center will be a resort style pool for more of our adult guests who want to maybe get a little away from where all the kids and all the fun and all the screaming is going on, and they can sit down and relax in a lounge chair and enjoy some quiet.
So will you all tear down the old center and build this, or is it a slightly different spot?
It's in the exact same spot, and it is already torn down. We are looking out my window right now at 4 large piles of rock and sand,
Okay.
and we needed to get moving forward with the demolition in order to meet our target date of opening in the summer of 2027.
Okay, summer of 2027. Let's talk
Yes.
about how you get from here to there.
Okay. So as of right now, we have received permitting through the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago and the Village of Wheeling. Both of those, as you refer to, hurdles, we accomplished, which allows us to demolition the old building and start the earthwork and the site demolition on site. While that is going on, we are finalizing our permit with the Illinois Department of Public Health. They are the ones who permit all aquatic centers and pools in the state of Illinois that are open to the public. So we are going through that process. We are very close to receiving that, hopefully. And once that permit is in hand, that's when we can actually start building the structure and the pool vessel. Now, construction will kick up here again in about 2 weeks and will continue all throughout the year. Unfortunately, construction in Northern Illinois does require weather to cooperate. So we're hoping for a mild winter, which will help us expedite construction, but we will be constructing the new facility up until the spring with an opening next summer.
Okay, yeah, lots of question marks on the weather that none of us can none of us can fully anticipate what's going to happen with that over time. But what will this mean for Wheeling?
This will mean a great deal for Wheeling. When this aquatic center, the original one, was built, it was unheard of in the area. It was a sense of community pride, and it was a place where we really looked at the community gathering space in the summer. In Wheeling, people spent their summers at the Family Aquatic Center. And it's funny, as word of the demolition was making its way around the community, we were flooded with people providing comments on how they met their best friends at the pool. It was their first summer job. It's their childhood. We've even had some generations who have brought the next generation to the aquatic center, saying, I grew up there as a kid and now my kids go to that pool. And they were very sad to see it go, but they also understood that progress requires some things have to go away to get the next thing so that we can take care of the next 30 to 40 years. And probably the biggest thing that we've heard from our guests is we have a very iconic slide. It's a child slide meant for toddlers. It's in the shape of a huge whale. And everyone wants to know what's going to happen with Willie the whale. Will Willie the whale make it to the new pool? And what we're telling everyone is stay tuned. Willie the whale may be making an appearance, and it may not be in the same manner everyone's thinking. So stay tuned for that, because we're looking forward to seeing what the future of Willie is in store in Wheeling.
Save Willie the whale.
Free Willie, I think, is a movie
Free
we could do a
Willie.
remake.
I love it. And now I feel like I need to go watch that again, although it made me cry. Anyway, so, in this day and age, I mean, we talked extensively even for the Bears yesterday, that in this day and age, whenever you're proposing anything, even if it's something that people are generally excited about, they're like, where is the funding coming from? Is it coming from my pocket? Because maybe I need to analyze this a little bit more. So explain the funding here.
Okay, so the project's a $32 million project. Of that $32 million, $20 million is coming from district reserves. What that means is over the course of the year, when we constructed that pool, we knew that pool was going to need to generate revenue to eventually help pay for its replacement. So over a year, bit by bit, the district has been putting money into our savings account, for lack of a better term, for a new aquatic center. Therefore, we are not required to increase taxes. We are not going to a referendum. We are not doing anything going to the taxpayer specifically for this project. We will take the $20 million out of reserves. The additional 12 will come through a variety of sources. We will issue some bonds, but the bonds that we issue, the aquatic center that generates the revenue will pay for those bonds. So we are not going to be asking our residents to foot the bill. Our residents, they do contribute taxes to the Wheeling Park District, and we're happy to use those funds to pay for the amenities that everyone can enjoy year round, our parks and our facilities. But the aquatic center, it's been saving money every year for the past 33 years to get us to this point. And we're actually extremely proud that we're able to just use our savings and use that to construct a new facility.
Well, that's pretty huge. Matt, great speaking with you today. Thank you so much for your time. We can't wait to see what 2027, the summer of 2027, has to hold.
And I will save a ride on any of our slides if you want to come out. We'll even bring some cameras out, and you can take a ride on the slide on us.
Only if you Free Willie. Only if
you Free Willie.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Okay, take care. It's 2:48 right now, everyone. Give us 2 minutes before we get into our next discussion here on the show. Okay, everyone, 2:50 right now. Before we hop into our next discussion, we want to take a look at how the stock market is holding up today. And look at that, kind of a mixed picture that we can see on the screen here. We didn't get an opportunity to look at this yesterday to kind of see how the week was starting because we had several live events that were going on. So let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing so far. Little has changed from what we saw behind the scenes yesterday. The S&P 500 relatively unchanged after some all-time highs that they experienced. A lot of this has to do, of course, with the back and forth on the messaging here for the Iran war. The Dow Jones Industrial day in positive territory. So really glad to at least be able to see that. We are waiting to get into a discussion with our friends from Harold's Chicken Shack in the West Loop. And if we could get them on the line, we're going to bring them in so we can talk a little bit about some of the very familiar faces that have been popping in to stop by and try the chicken there. Listen, Harold's, you know, the interesting thing is there's so many different Harold's locations, right? But some people swear by like one or two. And so it is very interesting that now we have the folks from the West Loop weighing in and some folks that are very high profile that are stopping in to kind of give them the stamp of approval, if you will. Lanita Glover and Clinton Glover are the owners there. I believe they're joining me here on the line now. Are you there? Hi, is this Clinton? Is this you?
Yeah, speaking.
Okay, all right, wonderful. So tell us a little bit about the visitors that you've had over the last month.
So just recently we had A$AP Rocky had a concert in town, so we had him, and then he brought his wife, Rihanna, with him. And then we also had Ty Dolla $ign made like a little guest appearance, like 2 seconds. He came through, and he was also visiting like the week before. And then just over that, we got a couple. I think we sent you guys a couple of videos and things for other people that have visited just throughout the years, because we've been open as a Harold's for about 14 years, but location 8 years on Madison, the West Loop.
What do you think it is about your location that's setting you apart, where everybody's stopping by?
Exactly what you just said, location. It's right by the United Center. It's the closest thing, from when you say you want to You want some fried chicken? We right there for you. So we do all orders. Cater all things. People sometimes think last time when what is his name? He had his last concert like a year or two ago, but he ordered about like almost $1,000 worth of things. He had like 4 or 5 party buses. So people always come order. They know we can get it done, and we can provide good quality food for them.
Yeah, what is it like when one of those types of orders comes through? Like you're going about your regular day, things are going well. You've got folks that live nearby that are stopping by for like a regular order, and then all of a sudden you get one for like $1,000.
Hey, you gotta make it all work. Got to put in the effort. People got to start pitching in more. Got to do whatever it does to get the orders out in time. So got to get those orders out. Got to still, get your regulars out, because you can't abuse them either. Because then they'll feel some type of ways, and they got to make it all work out. Got to create that harmonic balance for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Do folks get a little starstruck?
Oh yeah. Some people were starstruck. Now not that many people met during that recent time, but people get starstruck. Like when I Show Speed came, we had a lot of people standing outside the windows for the heralds, to get with him. So still people still to this day, I Show Speed came, around here, like a few days ago, a few weeks ago, months ago, things like that. So it has this because they come, it has this benefit, things like that. And people still see, and that's when they want to come check it out. That's the first thing they asked, was da here, and if they like chicken, I'm probably gonna like it too. So yeah.
So at this point, do you kind of just expect it when there's a big show in town that you're probably going to get one of these orders?
I do in some way, shape, or form, whether it comes from the other owners or if they come directly themselves. I know that we're gonna get a big order and it's going to somebody at the United Center, whether it's a basketball team or next top musician or something of that nature.
All right, Clinton, here is the big question.
Here we go.
If they are visiting Chicago and they are ordering from Harold's, what is their order?
Ooh, 6 wings, mild sauce, salt and pepper with a hot pepper on the side. And, if they want to get a little fancy, they add some lemon pepper too. Make it real good for them. Fried hard.
Fried hard. Okay. So then there has to be somebody who's giving them like the clue, the secret, the secret way of ordering things as a Chicagoan. Yeah.
Oh yeah, TikTok. Everybody come in pulling up TikToks. I want this. It's come to your video and say I want this. Make this. So that's where we get them.
Tell me just about being a business owner in Chicago, there in that area. What's it been like for you?
Being a Black-owned business in the West Loop, it has this challenges and controversy, but we make it every day. As I said, we've been there 8 years, but it's just got its goods and its bads. We just got to come, take the punches, roll them, deal with them how we deal with them, and get it going, and just continue to thrive and strive there.
All right, what's the next big show that you think you'll be getting an order from?
Ooh, I unfortunately have not seen the events list for the United Center yet. I didn't look at the calendar.
Okay, let me flip it. Do you have like a wish list, like somebody you hope when they come to Chicago they put in an order with your business?
I got one. Yeah. So I guess the next thing, after Rihanna, be like Beyonce or something like that, right? Let's go with that one. Beyonce and Jay-Z. Kanye come back in town. He may want some wings or something.
Yeah. Well, I would expect that if any of them stop in, you're probably going to get more than $1,000 order, and we will be so happy for you when that happens.
Yeah. We're all gonna be happy. Just as you said, even without the big people, still it's just the little people that keep the daily things going every day, though. So can't forget about. all that going on, so it's always just the constant foot traffic is always the best. But, the big
Congratulations.
people do help out too.
Congratulations on all your success thus far and what is to come. Let me think. Chris Brown and Usher will be here very soon at the beginning of August, so maybe they'll be the next big ones for you.
Yeah. Chris Brown used some of that $1,000 selfie money, to come buy some chicken from us.
Maybe so. Congratulations on it all, man. Take care.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, everyone. We love to see businesses thriving in our area, wherever they're located, and it's a beautiful thing to see that the word is getting out about what's going on there in the West Loop at that particular Harold's Chicken Shack, and that they're getting the order right when they come in. Let's take a quick 2-minute break, and then I'll set you up for where we're going in this final hour here today for Chicago Live. Welcome back, everyone. It's 3:05 right now. We're in our final hour here of Chicago Live for the day, and we still have plenty ahead. Plenty of great conversations to come. We're going to bring in our own Jake Hamilton, which means, we're getting into things that are changing in the entertainment business, and more particular when it comes to movies. There's some really interesting stuff that just played out over the last weekend, and so we're going to get into the details of that, where we are with things, and maybe what this gives us a window into in terms of where we're going with movies moving forward, with him around 3:45, sighting from Jake Hamilton in the afternoons, and we're glad to have it. We'll also talk about the weather with JD Rudd. It's been a beautiful day outside today. There's always the question of how long we can keep scenes like this that are this beautiful outside for people to run around the city and enjoy the temperatures, but then also the sights. We'll talk with one of our 5 p.m. producer, Sloan Salerno, about what they're working on for the evening shows. And we're getting a visit from a very well awarded chef in the area, as this particular restaurant has just picked up a new accolade. And so we'll be able to hear from them about the new honor and just the fact of how much of a foodie city Chicago really is. So we love to see people visiting and enjoying the great weather outside and all things summertime shy, right? But one of the things that becomes difficult over the summer months. We've seen it in years past. We've already seen, some elements of it starting to pick up over the last few weeks. And it's not just a Chicago problem. Our mass gatherings, these teen takeovers, however you want to call them, describe them, it's a problem. And it's one that requires many different people at the table in terms of trying to turn around the trends that we are seeing. And so we're glad that more people are saying, hey, let's do this work. Let's do this work together as a full community. And I want to bring in Sheena Jones, who is a field director for Aquatic, Washington Park, who is joining us now to talk about bringing people together and trying to make or affect change. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course. I just want to apologize in advance. It's a little loud. We have a couple of our partners in youth coming in for our listening session regarding the teen takeovers.
It's okay. Work in progress. It's all right. We can hear you just fine right now. Tell me about what you all are doing here, this listening session, what it is and what you hope comes from it.
So Activist, we're a violence prevention organization, and we look at violence through a public health lens. So with that being said, we understand that it's the responsibility of everyone to tackle the problem of violence that occurs in our city. So today, with the Teen Takeover listening session, our goal is to bring youth to the table to talk about these teen takeovers and these teen gatherings, often on social media platforms, and even in like the communities that we occupy, we have a lot of adults giving their opinions on, these teen gatherings and takeovers and what's happening. But I very rarely see people inviting young people to the table to get their thoughts on what's happening and what are some solutions. So that's our goal today, to bring some of the individuals that we're working with, some of those young people in the community areas that we service, to talk directly about things, teen takeovers, what's happening, and how CVI organizations and community stakeholders can help just to make sure there is no property damage and any destruction that's happening when these gatherings occur.
And I think that's a really important point, is that kids should feel welcome anywhere. They should be able to hang out with friends. But the problem is that what we've seen in recent weeks and years is that 90% of the kids that come out can have the idea of just hanging out. And if 5, 10, or even 2% have a different idea of what that gathering is supposed to be or who's supposed to be there, things drastically take a change.
Absolutely. And I think that everything that you stated already, we it's not unlawful to gather. And when you think about some of the places that they're gathering, the beach, downtown, those are deemed safe spaces. So in which some young people and even some adults have already stated that, we don't have a lot of those in the South Side and West Side community areas. So our goal is just to really get a better understanding of what's happening and exactly what activists and other violence prevention service and organizations can do to just support a peaceful gathering.
Mm-hmm. And when you say support a peaceful gathering, is that a part of it too? Like, more groups that work with teens need to figure out more programming or events that could attract them and to be in a positive space in a large gathering that is supervised.
I mean, I think that's a part of what we're here to learn. We have our thoughts of, okay, well, let's create safe spaces in some of these community areas that we're doing some of this violence prevention work in, or let's create, programming to give them something to do. But again, those are adults that, feel like that's what the solution is. But if we did these community activations, will young people come? We can have all of these ideas, but ultimately, I think it's important, and activists think that it's important to get that feedback from young people so that we can make sure that we have a to-do list once we leave here today, and we can start working towards some of those solutions and change.
Sure, that's fair. Just because if you build it, they will come is not always the mantra when it comes to teenagers, especially. Maybe they don't want to actually be in a supervised place. But a lot of these things that we're seeing, become problematic later into the night. So when you are having conversations, even getting ready for this type of event, how are you looking at it from that lens of, there's a greater conversation that's starting to come about as to what accountability parents play into this and where the line is, because if people are getting picked up that are 17, 18, 19, parent accountability doesn't look the same as 13, 14, 15.
Yes, I mean, some of those conversations ultimately start with the young people that we're already working with. So CVI and violence prevention organizations, what we pride ourselves on doing is working with high-risk individuals from the community area. So ultimately, it may be, some of those young people who are deemed as troublemakers. So we're talking directly to the intended population to better understand what's going on. When we started to think about these teen takeovers and having this listening session, we talked directly to some of the youth that we have on multiple youth advisory boards across different community areas that we service. And some of them, they'll be speaking today at the event, and then they've invited some young people from the community to speak as well, so that collectively, as stakeholders in these communities, we can learn more about how to really address the teen takeovers. And then, Activist is going to continue to do what we've been doing, hosting different community activations in the areas that we serve to strengthen our relationships with young people and all community members. We continue to work during hours where unfortunately violent incidents occur, so we've adjusted our hours for the summer from 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. And we're just continuing to talk to key individuals in the community and engage with the community so that we have those relationships and we can continue to mediate conflicts and respond to violent incidents.
It's a wonderful thing that you all are doing, and I see that you all are not only sitting youth down just by themselves, but you even have local law enforcement that is a part of this event. Talk about why that's important in this type of setting where you all are going to be, to have not just the teens, but have like an equal calm ground where they can speak with law enforcement about things as well.
So today, this event is really focused on young people speaking. So law enforcement and other community violence intervention organizations will solely be listening. You know, they may have questions, and I imagine that we will take questions, but it's really a listening session for them. And for us, it's important to have law enforcement here. You know, ultimately, we have a professional understanding. As community workers, what we're doing is we're talking to our key individuals, you know, trying to change their mindset. But we understand that, you know, law enforcement have their own goals as well. But we have a shared goal of reducing violence across the city of Chicago. So it's important to have them here, because when these team takeovers are happening, what they do is, you know, if they hear about it, they let us know so that we can come and, you know, try to mediate conflicts and respond to different incidents that are happening there before they have to come in, you know, do their job. So we want them here so that they can hear directly from the young people as well. And then in the event that it may be an opportunity for us to connect based on the feedback that we're given today, we both heard it and we can both start working towards our to-do list.
Hey, shared goals will help us all in the community. In doing this work, day in and day out, month in and month out, year in and year out, what goes through your mind when you do see the videos or the reportings about these takeovers when they do happen?
No, it's really, really unfortunate that they're happening. You know, one life lost is way too many. You know, the young people who are caught on video running across people's cars in Hyde Park. I think about that one often. You know, it's really unfortunate, but what we are always doing is just coming back to the table with leadership and asking, like, what can our teams do to address some of this? If it's happening at a community area that's close to one of the areas that we're servicing, how can we, you know, support? How can we support the young people there, the police districts there? That's ultimately what we're doing.
Well, thank you for what you do. I hope that a lot comes from the listening session tonight, and then maybe there will be many others. If it's effective, then hopefully you can have as many of these as possible. We want it to protect the young people and to protect the residents who get disrupted when the takeovers happen as well. It's important on either front.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for having us today.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right, goodbye.
318, everyone. Really important that we're having these discussions, and I'm happy that to be able to facilitate more people coming on the show to talk about things from different perspectives. We have had a trauma surgeon on, you know, an older person on, now, you know, community. This is a CVI, so community violence intervention group. You know what? It's a multi-pronged approach to trying to change the trends that we're seeing, the troubling trends that we're seeing, and at a really critical time. So we really appreciate them as they're getting ready for this listening session that starts at 4 o'clock, for taking a little time ahead of it to get the word out about what they are doing. Let's take a quick 2-minute break before we talk about the foodie town that we are and some new accolades for one of our restaurants here. everyone. It's about 3:22 right now. We thought we were going to have our next discussion with one of our local chefs, but they were having some technical difficulties today. So we're so delighted that our 5 p.m. producer was able to quickly get in front of a camera so that we could talk about the evening shows. Hi, Sloan.
Hello.
All right. Tell us what you all are working on for this evening.
All right. So Leslie is heading to Albany Park. There are reports that federal agents crashed into a car while they were detaining someone early this morning. This is at like 8 in the morning. And so there's a lot we don't know right now. So a lot we don't have answers to. We're still trying to figure out. So she's there just trying to, understand what exactly happened and talk to neighbors, what happened, what they saw, talk to other people. And so she's out there doing that. And
do we even know, like, when we say federal agents, we had an incident here, was it last week? And the agents were FBI. Yeah. Is this FBI again, or is this another?
It's immigration related. And so we're trying to, again, get all that confirmed, but it sounds like right now that's what was happening here. And then Lauren's story kind of goes into what your past guest was just talking about, the teen takeovers. So Naperville had a teen takeover last night, and it ended with 9 people being arrested. Let's see, there's 4 17-year-olds, a 15-year-old, and then 4 adults were arrested. And so she's going to talk to the chief again today. We talked to him yesterday before it happened, and then we're going to talk to him today. He's already said, he said there's going to be no warnings, there's no second chances. We tried doing that before and it hasn't worked.
Yeah,
and so he said,
that's pretty wild, quite honestly, that there still was one, because they did put out the warning like Friday that there was going to be one
forever.
Yeah. So if like the police are saying, hey, we already know this is in the works, you would think they would like quickly change locations at the very least. So I'm very surprised that 9 people ended up being arrested.
I know. I mean, we had Leslie there earlier in the day yesterday, waiting for it all to happen. So it's not like it was this big surprise that the teens were going to come in, undetected. And so, the chief is saying that last night proved that they're not giving any second chances. They're not going to hesitate making any arrests. And so we're trying to figure out, there's, a bunch of different charges. There's battery, obstructing ID. So, they were arresting, pretty much anyone they could. It seems like, within reason. And so, I'm interested to hear the chief's perspective today on that, because like you said, you planned for it. So how does it still happen?
Yeah. And when we say adults, I keep putting the emphasis on it. If you were listening to the last discussion, I think this is becoming one of those nuances that, requires us to be a little bit more transparent about the specifics, because often we say like juveniles, adults, and, like get the parents involved. But I thought, in speaking with one of the alders recently, and it stayed with me, like, listen, if we're talking about a 19-year-old, technically that is an adult, but it's also a teenager.
Yes, so I'm pulling up our article on it right now. So it looks like 3 of them were 18, the adults that were charged, and then 1 was 23.
Yeah.
And so, you do have, some people teetering on the line of, 23 is, arguably more of an adult, but 18, just graduated high school, still living at home. So at what point, the argument comes in again, should parents play a role? We've heard that a million times over and over. And so I'm interested to see if the chief, his perspective from the day after it happening, and, hoping maybe this will be a deterrent, like making all these arrests and people not doing it. But I guess we'll see. It has it before in Chicago. So.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right.
All right. And then we have Joni. So she is doing this organization, Purpose Over Pain. So 50 mothers are going to get portraits of their children whose lives were taken by gun violence.
Wow.
And so that's going to be a very emotional and moving story today that she's at. And so it's going to be, so there's this art exhibit, and it tells the stories of victims and survivors. And then on top of that, the parents of these victims are getting, something out of it to take home.
I can't even imagine. Can't imagine it. I think that's probably any parent's worst nightmare is losing their child, and especially in a violent way. Can't even imagine what they've been through and how moving that exhibit is going to be to really drive home the effects of these types of things.
Yeah.
I was listening to a video earlier today where a woman talked about how many people are walking around with this type of trauma in the city of Chicago, where for this particular woman who was speaking in the video, she said that she lost her brother at like 13, and then an uncle when she was in her early 20s, and then there were like 2 other family members that were taken when she was in her 30s. And I'm just sitting here like, oh my gosh, like,
Yeah.
it's so sad. And it's so common, very unfortunately. So I'm sure a lot of people will, again, be moved, but then also just kind of have a lot of questions about, well, how do we not have, how do we get to a point where we don't have an exhibit like that?
Yeah.
That's a club
And so,
no
yeah,
one
I
wants
guess
to
the
be
exhibit
in.
will be, nice in a way, because, for people who don't experience that kind of pain in their personal life, to understand that there are people out there who are living with that. And so I think that's going to be a great story that I know Jenny's going to do a good job on.
Sure.
And then, of course, Brett is back on the Bears. There's always
What's
no
going on with
shortage of
the
Bears
Bears?
content. So he's talking to 3 people. He's talking to a Republican representative, and he's talking Auguste, and then he told him that the Bears could have been better on the messaging in the bill. And then Cam Buckner he's talking to, and he's also talking to State Senator Bill Cunningham, who he basically said that there's nothing stopping the Bears from right now building a stadium in Arlington Heights, but they don't want to do that unless they get a tax break from Illinois. And so it's, that component, which of course, we've already known about it, but just kind of digging deeper into it. And will there be a special session? We don't know. And so it's interesting to hear all those viewpoints again. But again, just a mess.
It really is, because
as I'm wearing my Bears.
Listen, we're still bearing down. We just want some answers. We want this part of everything to be over. We just thought that Monday would come and the conversation would have shifted to like, okay, what's next in the stand. From the standpoint of like something happened, we're in the same space of where is it gonna be and what's gonna have to happen to get there. This is just, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. And then of course I have some fun across America stories.
Okay.
So the first one is in New York. So there's a bunch of videos going around of groups of people going in sewers and then hours later climbing out of them. And so police don't know why they're doing this. They're obviously looking into it. They went down, police did sweep the sewers to make sure they weren't putting, bombs or anything of that sort in there.
Yeah.
And they didn't find anything. And so they're just kind of like, what is going on? Why are people climbing through the sewers? And they're saying, as they figure out what these people are doing, they're hoping people aren't going to do, copycats, try and go in there. It's not just illegal. It's really dangerous. There can be gas in there that can kill you.
There was a woman that just died.
Exactly. And so that begs another question. This is me just speculating, but maybe were people climbing in those manholes and then, leaving them open, and then that's another hazard of people falling into them. And so it's just, there's always a lot going on in New York, of course. But so that one is interesting. Yeah. And then California, people have been talking about this one all day, but it's so crazy. They found a tunnel in San Diego under a retail store, and it led all the way to Tijuana. So it was, I think they said 2,000 feet long, and it was 55 feet deep underground. And they said they found it so it started in Tijuana, and they would, investigators say, move drugs from Tijuana to San Diego through this tunnel. And they charged 4 people so far, and they found $45 million worth of cocaine. And so that is crazy that it's just under a store in San Diego, and it led all the way to Mexico.
And I wonder how long that store has been there.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, before... the minute you said a tunnel under a place in California, I'm thinking of some type of smuggling. But I'm wondering, did it stop at drugs? Were there humans who were being smuggled through there as well?
I mean, I wonder. I mean, it must. I don't know anything about building tunnels, but I imagine that doesn't happen overnight. has been probably years. That tunnel took 2,000 feet to build. I don't know what kind of machinery was used or anything like that. But it's crazy to think, how many years has this been going on for? How much, what has gone in and out through it? How many people knew about it? And so I think they discovered it in Tijuana first, doing a search warrant somewhere on a home there, I believe. And then I'm assuming they just followed the tunnel and then ended up in San Diego, which is crazy.
Oh my goodness. Whoa, that is something.
So those are two crazy ones today.
$45 million worth is no small operation. So,
no.
All right. Okay. Well, we will see it all come to fruition on your show coming up at 4 and 5 o'clock. Thank you, Sloan.
Bye. Thank you.
Wow. $45 million. Okay. All right. Everybody, let's take a 2-minute break. JD just walked in. We'll get to our weather coming up after this. All right, welcome back, everyone. Just about 3:35, and JD Rudd is in the house, so we can talk about this fine weather outside.
It's finally taking that turn. We're finally getting there.
Yeah, when you speak of taking the turn, whenever we have the turn, you start to see people in everything.
Yes.
Yesterday, and you mentioned, kind of depends on where you are as to what you experience. Yesterday, I step out and I see people in sleeveless shirts, and I also saw some people in jackets and sweats.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, Chicago. Oh, Chicago.
It's all about where you're going, where you're coming from, what you're doing that day. And some, honestly, let's just be real about it, don't know. Some, they don't watch the forecast, they don't pay attention, they go, well, you know what, I'm just going to go out in this, and we're going to see how it goes.
Yeah, like YOLO.
There it is,
You see all these folks out here at the Bean enjoying, at the very least, the sunshine. Are the temperatures agreeing with the sunshine today?
In a fair order, I would say. I mean, we're not super warm in downtown near the Bean or in the immediate Chicagoland tight area, if you will. It's 60s and 70s, which isn't bad, but you've got 80s farther south and west. Now, keep in mind, typical high temperature right now is about 76, 77, so we're not too far off from normal. Also, we're in the month of June now. That sun is much higher in the sky. The angle's more intense. The sun can kind of overcome that cool factor. If you stand out in that sun for 20, 30 minutes, you're going to get roasty toasty pretty quickly, not even depending upon the temperature. So that's something to keep in mind too.
I even saw some of the window washers out today. You know, it gives you a moment of pause when you haven't seen them in a while. And you're like, somebody's going off the building. Oh,
okay.
Oh,
He's got roads. He's all right. He's okay.
Okay, let me calm down. It gives you pause for a moment.
When you're not used to seeing that. Yeah.
You're like, oh,
what was that?
What's happening?
It's been 6 months or longer since we've seen
this.
Been a while,
but it shows that the temperature is getting back, you know, into some warmer territory.
Yeah, and I'm actually I've done some stat digging, and I'll talk about this in the 4 o'clock hour. But it has been a very long while since we've had more than 5 days in a row of 80s. We're about to see at least 7 of them, if not 10 or more. So for those who've really been waiting for things to warm up and stay warm, starting tomorrow, this is your run of weather.
Oh, okay. All right.
So there it is.
All right. Well, let's take a look at it.
Well, before we look at the stuff today, I want to show you what's going on across the country because we have a couple different things that are happening. So I've combined the current satellite and radar with the severe weather outlook. I bring this up because of a couple different reasons. First off, Florida, northern parts of Florida, under a level 1 risk for some severe weather today. While we're not hoping they get severe weather,
they need the rain.
Rain would be hugely beneficial. And you see there are some returns out in the Gulf. Just need to move those onshore. Help them out. That incoming cold front should help trigger more rain, more storms for them later on today into this evening. Meanwhile, northern plains off to our west, portions of North Dakota, South Dakota, the panhandle of Nebraska, they're in a level 2 risk for some severe weather. Had some warnings out there earlier. That system not directly coming our way, but that system will play a role in some weather that we get by Friday into Saturday. When we get our chance for storms. And then before we leave this graphic, of course, we have to take a look at the West Coast, California. They have a lot going on today. There's a big election out in LA, I believe it is. And then weather-wise in general, I mean, yeah, most folks will squawk and talk about, oh, California weather's beautiful. Not when you have wildfires.
Yeah, and you know what? When you talk about the elections, that's one of the big issues.
Oh, yeah.
You know, in terms of the response to the wildfires. And boy, was it a debacle last year that now is like, with new wildfires, really fresh on people's minds. We actually spoke with one of the reporters from our sister station in the first hour from Fox 11 LA, and he was saying of the thousands of homes that burned last year, and it is like right around the 1-year anniversary. They only know of like a dozen that have been rebuilt. I mean, that is wild when you think of a year going by that only a few of thousands have been rebuilt, and how many people are carrying that in their hearts straight to the polls.
That's exactly it. Yeah. All that fresh in their memory. They, as you say, they're voting with their hearts. They're voting with their memories in that situation. It's going, you know what? We can't have this again.
Yeah. I mean, a referendum.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's incredible.
Yeah. It's sad. It really is sad. So that yellow that was on there, what was that?
That's a level 2 risk up there in the portion of North Dakota. Yeah, that's
Okay.
the severe weather risk for them. So that's not going to come our way tonight. We're going to be pretty quiet tonight.
Okay.
Tomorrow gets a bit warmer, and as I mentioned, here's our run of 80s coming. Tomorrow, the coolest day of the next several. Thursday looks like a day where it's going to get toasty. We're going to have a southwest wind. I think a fair amount of sunshine. Given the heat and some increasing humidity, we might get a few fair weather cumulus clouds. We should be dry that day. But then you see Friday and Saturday. So the newest data that I've looked at is speeding up the system that was coming in. Previously, it looked like it was going to be more Saturday into Sunday with us catching something maybe late Friday evening. Now it looks like Friday morning, Friday afternoon, Friday evening. There could be a couple of few rounds of showers and storms around here, maybe wrapping up early Saturday and then departing. So Saturday's still a little bit murky because we got to see how Friday's system plays out, but I'm honing in on Friday because that looks to be the day where a cold front comes in. We're going to have ample heat in place, ample moisture return, meaning higher dew points, higher humidity. It's going to feel a lot more like summer on Friday. Then with this front coming in, that could be the trigger to get us stronger thunderstorms. So we'll keep our eyes on that. And depending upon how it plays out, that could linger into Saturday. But even though a cold front, quote unquote, comes through, it's not getting any cooler for the weekend. It's still the mid-80s for us.
You know, and Lori Children's has a big walk on Sunday. So, you know, I always like to kind of keep a marker on the days that are meaningful to folks in our
Absolutely.
community. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
one thing if you've got a festival, and we do
Sure.
like to get outside. It's festival season, but we
Yes.
hope that things can stay at least this way for the Lurie Children's Hospital walk
Yeah.
that's happening on Sunday.
From what I saw today, I mean, even that 40% on Saturday might be more so in the morning time frame. We might get lucky enough for most of Saturday's pretty dry. Again, depends upon where some outflow boundaries end up from Friday, where the cold front ends up from Friday. But it's looking more and more like high pressure comes in for Sunday, scoots any kind of rain chance out of here, and we should keep things dry and warm on Sunday.
And you're still putting possibility on at least one more cold something.
I still think
comes through at some
somewhere
point.
it's got to happen. My hunch is middle part of the month, but maybe it waits till the end of June. But there's got to be one. There's always one. Now, what's the magnitude of it?
One.
Is it going to be only 70s? Maybe. Is it going to be 50s? I don't think so.
Okay.
But there's going to be something
That's good perspective.
That's how I think it's going to be. It's not like oh my gosh, we're suddenly plunging back into late winter.
Yeah.
No, but it's going to be 80s, 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 a cool day. Ooh, what happened? I'm just hoping it doesn't happen over a weekend where people have plans and they're like, hey, we got the family coming in, we're going to go out to the lake, we're going to the water, we're going to do something, and oh gosh, now everyone's got to bring long sleeves or something like that. But we'll see how it shakes out.
Okay. All right. I mean, 70s aren't bad to me.
No.
You know, I'd still get out there if it
Absolutely.
was 70s. Now, if you said we were going to go from the 80s to the 40s.
That's a whole different ball game. We need a whole different story.
Whole different ball game.
We're not going. It's not that extreme. It's not like when you're cruising along the interstate and you see a cop and you got to stop real quick. We're not going from 80 to 40 like that.
Okay, all right. Flag on the play. 3:43, everyone. Thank you for coming up.
you.
We'll get you back down for the 4 o'clock news, and give us 2 minutes, everyone, and we'll get to our final conversation here on the show today. We're bringing in Jake Hamilton. Haven't seen him in a while, so we are glad to have him back on the show. 3:46, the fun has entered the building now. We have laughed the whole commercial break. Jake Hamilton here, our entertainment anchor. And Jake, this is some really crazy stuff. I was looking at some of the articles on this about this past weekend. And what could be a picture of a shift in the industry for movies?
Yeah, there are so many things going on right now, some of which are generational box office runs, right? I mean, ever since the pandemic, the big headline has been people are just not going back to the movies. But now, not only are people going back, it's making people realize that we are back in a period of time that we haven't seen in decades. You know, we were at the movies over the weekend, and I saw something I haven't seen since I was a kid, which was teenagers lined up to see the next showing of a movie. Now, this all began a couple of weeks ago with this small independent horror film called Obsession. And this is a movie that was made for $750,000, open to about $17 million, which if it stopped there,
they're good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The next weekend it did something that doesn't happen. It made more money weekend two. Normally it starts plummeting,
And
right?
Was this the Star Wars weekend?
Yeah, it was the Star Wars weekend. And then it did something weekend three. It made more money than the previous weekend. Now, 3 weekend increases. Not only has that not happened in a long time, the last time that happened was back in 1982 for a film called E.T. This is the sort of like astronomical history that we're talking about. And that story alone would have been enough. But then comes this other little independent horror film called Backrooms, made for a couple of $1 million, based off of a YouTube series that came from like a Reddit photo writing prompt. Opened to almost $90 million. We're talking about a know-nothing small movie that basically opened to the same level as Star Wars. And these things are happening that's making people go, okay, Gen Z is showing up for the movies, but they're showing up for the movies that they want to see. I guarantee you right now, every studio in Hollywood is calling an emergency meeting and going, what are we doing?
Probably not saying it that nicely.
Exactly right. They're using some words we can't use on Chicago Live. But I mean, there was an Oscar speech a few years ago where a guy said, you know what, Hollywood, instead of making one $200 million movie, why don't you make 20 $10 million movies? And right now they're looking at that because that's the thing. How many times do you and I do a box office story where we'll say, you know, a movie opened to $50 million, and under most circumstances, that'd be great, except for the fact that it costs $200 million. You can't keep making these movies that require you to earn $1 billion just to get into the black, you know? So they're realizing that these original ideas, these kids are showing up for. And what's kind of really exciting about this is we're seeing this new crop of filmmakers. They are kind of emerging from YouTube. They're kids that grew up with one of these in their hand. They didn't ask for permission. They went out there and started figuring out how to do this on their own. And this happened back in the 70s when there was a group of kids named Scorsese and Spielberg and Coppola and Lucas and De Palma. They grew up with their family's 8mm cameras. They did the same thing. In the 90s, there was this group of kids named Tarantino and Kevin Smith and Robert Rodriguez. And so every couple of generations, you start seeing this emergence, not just of a new group of filmmakers, but a new way to deliver the product, which is we're not playing by your rules. We're not going to wait to be handed a Marvel movie. We're going to make our own movie. And if you don't want it, we'll find somebody who does.
What was it was like some witch movie or something that the kids were like out in Blair Witch,
exactly.
Where it was like it was made for nothing.
It was made for nothing, and that's what a lot of people are comparing Obsession to. It's a great. It's in fact they're both sort of rival neck and neck for most profitable movie of all time. I think Blair Witch maybe even costs like $23,000 or something like that.
Aren't you like congratulate me on even like. Because you know I don't do movies.
I know
like
you don't. Yes, and the fact that you knew a horror movie, the fact that you knew a horror movie, I got to give you props because there's the only thing scarier than a horror movie is recommending a movie to Anita Blanton that she doesn't like because in the newsroom I'll hear over my shoulder, Jake.
We need to have a conversation.
I've got to slowly turn around and go, oh no,
about that.
She went and saw Marty Supreme. Oh no, what are we gonna do? But it's really there's this seismic shift, and it makes me think about something that Ryan Gosling said at a Q&A recently. He said it's not audience's responsibility to save movie theaters. It's our responsibility as Hollywood to give you something that makes you want to show up to a theater to begin with. And what we're seeing right now with this box office, AMC just reported their best May in years. We are on track to have the biggest box office year since before the pandemic.
So is that because we are doing a little something of everything, giving everybody a little something to get
exactly.
to
I bet
for?
Some of the biggest titles this year didn't have a number 2 after them. It was Project Hail Mary. Even Michael is closing in on $1 billion. They're movies that aren't really based on IP. I know Michael's obviously based on real events, but it's not stuff based on IP. Now that's not to say we're all getting very excited, but don't forget, in a couple of weeks we have Toy Story 5, we have Spider-Man 4, we have a live-action remake of Moana, and those are going to make a lot of money. But what it also says is there's room for the other side of the spectrum as well. And you know what? If right now what it's proven is if you're going to Vegas and there's a card game over here where you got to bet $200 to maybe win $5, or a card game over here where you got to bet a nickel but you can win $1,000, I'm going to bet a nickel.
I would wonder, is this going to make it harder, though, to pitch the large-scale movies in the future? When you do see, like, oh, well, they were able to make it for that. And they were able, like, does it make it harder for you to pitch something grand?
I'm going to be honest. I hope it does. I really hope it does, because I want, if you're going to put $200 million up on the screen, justify it. Make it worth it. If you're going to put a big block, these big, massive blockbusters used to be an event. They used to be a thing that we looked forward to. Now it's a Thursday. Now, make them special. I think that was the issue. That's the problem with Star Wars and Marvel. They're not special anymore. It used to be a thing. We used to talk about these things years in advance. I got to be honest with you. I went and saw The Mandalorian Grogu. I'm a Star Wars fan. I walked out of there and went, why did I go see that? It's on Disney Plus. It's the same exact thing. Now listen, will I be in line for the next Star Wars? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because you're a true fan.
Yeah, but it doesn't, the average person who maybe only goes to see 1 or 2 movies a year, you got to make them realize this is it. This is why. But it's starting to happen a little bit more and a little bit more. And you look back on the top 10 highest grossing movies of, let's say, 1993. You know what's interesting about them? None of them are sequels. None of them are remakes.
You did get into a real rut of everything being a remake, everything being a sequel.
I interviewed one of the young actors from the Ghostbusters reboot a few years back. And the question I asked her was, this is fun for me. My childhood is rebooted. It's so great to have this. I said, what do you have from your childhood that in 30 years would be cool to see come back? And she said, I don't have anything. And I said, what are you talking about? She goes, my whole childhood has been your childhood rebooted and remade and sequelized and legacy-wise. And I went, oh my, and it kind of broke my heart a little bit.
Nothing original.
Exactly right. So, we've been talking a lot about Spielberg lately, and you look at all the movies that he made in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and they didn't, outside of indie, they didn't really have 2s and 3s after them. They were big, grand, original ideas. And that's what we have to get back to. So this new crop of filmmakers that's coming out of the world of YouTube that taught themselves on the internet how to make a movie, we got to believe in them, and we got to double down, and we got to bet on them.
And what is the thought process if you have the audience on YouTube? What is even the thought process behind putting it in a movie theater?
I mean, you want the bigger opportunity because, at the end of the day, they probably have dreams.
Is it the bigger opportunity anymore?
It's the bigger opportunity to make some more money. You can be monetized all day long on YouTube, but you're not going to make you're not getting back in points on YouTube. And that's where a lot of money lies. And I hope all these kids that are making these monies for these studios, the kids behind Obsession and Backrooms, I hope they're getting some kind of a bonus from these studios because they are making money hand over fist, and it's really cool to see. And it's really, for the first time since the pandemic, I think there's a part of me that's finally going, okay, Hollywood, not only is Hollywood going to be okay, we're moving in a really positive direction.
It was scary for a while.
It was scary for a long while. There was, I had a lot of people coming up going,
couldn't tell you the last time I was in the movie
Right,
theater. And now,
exactly.
you know, I had a buddy of mine say, my teenager came to me and said, Dad, will you take me to the movies?
To see what?
Backrooms.
Oh, okay.
Exactly right, because it was a thing that they watched on the internet. Now it's a movie. So it's, you know what? It doesn't matter. I don't care what the movie is. Here's here's another thing. I didn't like Backrooms. I don't care.
Maybe you've aged.
Oh, I am so old now.
You know,
I am old man shakes his fist at the sky.
Listen,
I have to get aisle seats now because I got to go to the bathroom in the middle of a screening. That's where I used to be able to sit in the middle, Anita.
Nothing will ever be the same.
Not anymore. Exactly right.
Jake, thank you so much for coming
Thank you.
up. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Give us 2 minutes, everyone. We'll be back to close out the show. Back, everyone, and thanks so much for being here with us today. We hope you'll join us again tomorrow from 1 to 4.
And you got to do something in Times Square. You have to do something.
Don't they
big.
call farting hotboxing too? Because they could do that.
You are the worst, man.
Scary Movie 7.
What is that going to promote?
See you tomorrow.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
A car crash, federal agents, a taser, and bullets on the street. What really happened on the Northwest Side?
A woman is put into a coma after an encounter